Hey, are we live? I think we're live.
I think we are.
I think I forgot to hit the button like 5 minutes ago. I'm never late, but we're live right now, I guess.
We are live.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Comics with Bueller. As always, I am Bueller. As you can see, I'm not alone. I got my good friend Robbie from Culture Philosophers with us tonight. How you doing, Robbie?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for inviting me here to be with you and everybody in the chat.
Well, I'm very excited. Is this the first time you've been on my channel?
It is.
I didn't know I was thinking about it. I was like, because I've been on a lot of stuff with you on other channels, your channel. I didn't know for sure if you'd been on mine. So if this is the first time, it sounds like it is. Welcome, First Timers Club.
First appearance.
Very cool. So this is night 2 of interview week. Last night we had Gem Mint from Gem Mint Collectibles. Tonight we have Robbie from none other than Pop Culture Philosophers. Tomorrow is Tom from Comic Tom 101. And who do we have after that? Oh, Reggie from Reggie Collects. Looking forward to that on Thursday. And then Friday night is Brian from Simple Man Comics. It's so great because I don't have to edit a video this whole week. That's the real reason I'm doing the interview.
That's a positive. That's a positive.
Yeah. I actually do have a video coming out on Saturday. It's one of those 50 books worth $100 videos, so it should be pretty cool. People really enjoyed that. But it's not about me, it's about you. And I want people to get to know Robbie because he's a good friend of mine. He's got one of the best comic book YouTube channels that's out there. If you guys aren't familiar with Pop Culture Philosophers, the link is down below. I'm sure you guys are. I know I watch his channel all the time. Right now, he's sitting at about 6,500 subs, somewhere in there, right?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Awesome. And you got almost 1,000 videos on your channel?
I don't know, probably. I don't pay too much attention to that.
A ton of content.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So very cool. But I want to talk about something really fast. My favorite content that you put out that unfortunately it just hasn't been the same the last 3 Tuesdays. And you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
Let me tell you my routine. Tuesday night, I sit down and I do my weekly preview video that I put out every Wednesday morning. I'm sitting down Tuesday night. I look on my TV and I'm waiting for Pop Culture Philosophers to pop up their weekly comic book review. And this is the most read comics in one period review show you can get. Literally, it's let's just say 40 to 50 comics in a row reviewed, non-spoiler, 2 breaths. He takes 2 breaths during the show. Let me ask you, man, do you miss reading all those comics every Tuesday?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, when the Diamond shutdown happened and everything, I was like, this will be cool. It'll be a break, because the weeks leading up to that, I was like, man, the stacks had gotten so big, you know, and I go to work that morning and I open up the shipments and we do all the work stuff, and then I come home and then I read them and then I get the video done, and then it's enough time to eat and go to bed. And so for a while there, I was like, man, I'm reading too many comics. I want this to kind of go down a little bit. I need to read less comics. And now, well, you know, the universe said, okay, you want less comics? Here you go. So be careful what you wish for. I would kill to have 50 new comics right now to read. Absolutely.
I think we all would. Before we get started, I want to jump in the chat really quick. The first one here was number 1 Drama Queen. I remember I said that one time when Bob was on the channel. He thought I was talking about him. No, it's actually the name of a profile. Number 1 Drama Queen. Hello, how are you? The Comic Club is in here. Derek Magnus is in here as well. Let's see. Let's just scroll down. Bruce, hello, how are you? William, hello, how are you? Herminio. God, I always pronounce that guy's name wrong. I try my best. I get it right like half the time, and then the other half the time, after I've gotten it right, I get it wrong.
Yeah, I switch back and forth, but I usually say Herminio. It just sounds cool. I don't know. It's probably completely wrong. He hasn't corrected me though. So
ALD Collects, hello, how are you? Let's see. Rich, hello. Two Gun Pedro, what's going on, my friend? Logan Torres, Kirby B says, hey, Bueller and Robbie. Funk Comics 814, Comic Book Lurkin, hello. Oh, that's Perry, I believe. Yep. Alan, hello. Dark Ranger 7, hello. Hydra Collectibles, hello. House to the End. Man, there's a lot of people in here tonight. Still scrolling down. Rob Boswell's in here as well. We all know Rob. let's see. We got Perry Comics gave a $2 super chat. It says, "Hey, Dad." God, that guy is.
Why does he call you Daddy?
Thanks for the McChickens. I don't know. It's definitely an issue that he has to explain sometime. I really don't know why. Because the math just doesn't work out. Anyway, a lot of great people, and we'll come back to you guys in a little bit. But first thing, and I asked this question of Jem last night, and when I remember this, you were there too on the first time. So the first time I met you was on Jem's channel. Very first time we met, very first time we said hello and talked. And really, I don't know why it took us so long to get to know each other, because we've both been doing this for a while. But when you met me and my name was called to introduce myself, and I go on this 5-minute spiel or whatever promo about my channel and everything, what were you thinking at that point?
Well, I was thinking that you were taking advantage of an opportunity that you had. But my first probably gut instinct was, who in the hell is this guy jumping in here, throwing all this out? I'm going to be way quicker and way more on point than this guy, way more efficient. But no,
dude, I covered everything. I covered everything on my channel.
You did. It was so funny. It really, really was. And if you go back and watch the video, you see we all just start cracking up. And it was a great icebreaker to that whole thing, because that was the first time a lot of us had ever worked together. And I was really nervous, I was like, it's Jim Mint, like, telling us, hey, we want to do a video. And you helped break that ice. It was just, from that moment on, I felt like we were all brothers.
It was a good time, and then, I think about meeting you, and I think Dylan was on there as well, or shortly after. And then the boy who had 7 was on there. I've known him before. And then, like I said, Jim, that was the first time I met him. So it was a great opportunity. I wasn't going to let it slide by. And you know what? I made some good friends out of it as well, not to mention some other people found the channel. But more importantly, I got Robbie sitting here with me now. And that's probably the biggest bonus of it right there.
Yeah, it was the start of the comic book bromance for the decade.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. We've all been somewhat in quarantine. There's different levels of quarantine depending on where you are in the States. What have you missed the most over these last few weeks?
I have missed sports like crazy. Baseball should be going on right now. I'm missing basketball. The NBA Finals should be starting this weekend.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, I'm really, really missing sports. Plus, we had a minor league baseball team throughout my entire life called the Huntsville Stars. And they went away several years ago. So we've been baseball free as for a local team here. And we just now got a new baseball team, the Rocket City Trash Painters.
I saw that. And
I'm so excited. And nope, there's no baseball. So sports is the big thing. Obviously, the comic books. I'm missing that like crazy. A lot of other people are missing going out and going out to eat and going out to bars and things like that. And that stuff's cool. And that's something I guess I kind of miss, but I don't do that all the time anyway, because I spend a lot of time just, believe it or not, reading comic books and chilling at home with my lady and my cats and my dog. But I really, really miss baseball. And it's already a long wait for baseball from in the winter. And so now to not have it at all, it's excruciating to me.
I haven't kept track. I mean, do they have any plans on when baseball starts up again? We don't have a team in the Pacific Northwest. We do it in Seattle, but I don't really follow them, but we don't have anything here in Portland.
And the Mariners, they've always had really bad luck in the postseason, but Ken Griffey Jr., probably the greatest swing in baseball. They have had plans kind of leak, nothing official yet. Right now, the current and most leading plan is that they basically all go to where they play spring training and they play a shortened season there without crowds. So it would be completely different. Like the people that play in Florida and the people that play in Arizona, they're a mixed match of leagues. So you wouldn't actually have an American League and a National League. You would have the Grapefruit and the Cactus League. So that's what I've heard. And I would be cool with that just because I want baseball. I miss the Yankees so much. This is our year. I'm a Lakers fan, and they found a way to rob LeBron out of another championship.
Well, you just answered one of my questions for like the end of the interview right there. So I saw like Tom McFarlane. He said something like, "Oh, that stadium over there, that's where a bunch of baseball games are going to get played or whatnot." Was that kind of what he was referring to? A bunch of teams going to one area and playing the games?
Yes, because spring training's done in Florida and Arizona, and the teams are all together. They got their own camp, they got their own like fields and everything, but it's way closer together. So this way, you wouldn't have them traveling and crisscrossing the country and all that kind of stuff.
So what are you? I think where you're at, are they lifting stuff right now?
No, actually, our governor announced today because she is under. I'm in the South. I'm in Alabama. It's very it's very Republican and red down here. Yeah. And it seems like a lot of people were trying to pressure the governor to open up the shutdown, to open up the economy. And, obviously that's a problem with the economy being shut down. But today the governor announced that they're going to keep the shelter-in-place order, non-essential business closing in place till at least the end of the month. And then we'll probably start getting a slow rollout. But all the other states around us, like Tennessee and Georgia, they're starting to try to open up. And, so right now we're all still in that. But, I don't know what it's like in Oregon, but not too many people here.
It's great. We just sit home.
Really? Because not too many people here are staying home, it seems.
So what are you looking forward to doing? Like when the stay-at-home order is gone? What are you looking forward to doing? What do you want to do that you just can't do right now? Besides what you're missing, what are you looking forward to doing?
Well, I'm looking forward to going to a baseball game and seeing the Trash Bandits play. That would be awesome. I'm looking forward to when cons start back. We have a con here, the Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo. It was supposed to be this last weekend, and obviously that got postponed. It's scheduled now for July, so it may still kick off there, but we've had a lot of people not able to make it because of the date shift. Jim Starlin can't make it anymore. Mark Wade can't make it anymore, and so that's kind of sad. But looking forward to getting back into cons. I'm probably not going to be traveling to a lot of cons for the year. I've got tickets to see Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle perform live. That was supposed to be this upcoming Sunday night, but instead it's going to be like in September or something like that. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting back and I like going to concerts and shows and stuff like that. 311's one of my favorite bands. They were doing this thing this year, celebrating their 30th anniversary, which makes me feel not too young, but they're celebrating 30 years by doing a show in each state. And obviously that kind of got thrown out, so I'm looking forward to getting back out there and doing that kind of stuff and actually having my friends back over in the studio to do podcasts and to do the videos, because the live streams that we've been doing are fun and everything, but there's a different thing when you're actually there in the studio together at a round table or in front of the camera talking. So, and I'm missing going to the movies.
Well, I'm in the same boat as far as like having that round table and the person actually being there with you. Having, Bob there with me or Sam with me as well. There's a big difference. Now, I'll just go ahead and say this. Bob and I are filming the coffee video. We'll be back on Monday.
Nice.
So the coffee video will make a return on Monday. I don't know what we're going to talk about. Pretty much what we've been doing, because we literally haven't seen each other since the day we filmed the last coffee video.
Yeah.
So it's been 4 weeks or whatnot. So
wow.
That will be back on Monday. But let me jump into the chat again real quick. We got Mike Rogers. Hello, Mike. How are you? Ben, hello. Let's see. Just kind of scrolling down here to see who I missed. Hi, Leah. Hello. It says, congrats. Oh, yeah. You said this to me earlier. Congrats on 10,000. Hit that this morning. That was pretty cool. Thank you so much. Lewis, hello. I forget you can click on these names and they pop up on the screen.
You can, yeah.
That's pretty cool. Let's see. There's a lot of people in here. I think it just jumped up and I missed everything. Let's see if I can scroll up here and find some people. Come on. I'm not good at this, man. This is why I don't do the live streams as much as I used to. I just was not here. What's that?
Brett Hess is in the building.
Brett Hess is in there. You know what? He's got some great art.
He does.
Let's see. Two Gun says, congrats on 10K. Thank you so much. Let's see. Hopefully I can get through this. Aggressively relaxing. Hello. Let's see. Nunya Bizwax. I'm missing the hell out of UFC and B-Ball. Yep. Rich, hello. Let's see. Discovery Bay. Hopefully you're doing good, my friend. Let's see if I can get anywhere in here. Ryan from Blue Thunder, hello. Reggie Simmons, that's a double G. Reggie Simmons right there. Awesome. Hopefully you're doing well. Love that guy.
Reggie's the coolest.
He is.
Our new camera's named the Reggie after him.
That's right. I saw that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I coined the name Double G Reggie Simmons, but because there's obviously the other Reggie collects or Reggie,
Yep.
and I said no, this is Double G Reggie Simmons, not the single G. This is a double G.
Yep. And now I always refer to him as Double G Reggie too sometimes, or the Double OG. I like that one.
Comic Man Andy, hello. Let's see.
Lots of PCP Army in here represent y'all.
Connie, hello. Thank you, Connie, for stopping by. Let's see. I think I got, let's see. Jesse, hello. Man, I'm doing better than I did yesterday.
You're doing fine. Keep going. You're doing great.
Sleepy Reader, hello. How are you? Let's see. Paul M. Hopefully you're doing well. Cheers from Australia. That's cool. Okay. I think I got caught up somewhat. I don't know.
Put another shrimp on the bobby.
So this is kind of what I want to get into a little bit with you, because you are a manager at a comic book shop, correct?
Correct.
And you've done this for quite some time.
Yes.
So you've dealt with all sorts of different scenarios, except for this one.
Yeah, I don't think many of us have. I don't think there's ever been a stoppage like this, not even during World War II.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what do you think, is this going to have a lasting effect in comic book in general? I mean, not just the comic book like the publishers, but on collecting and stuff like that. What effect do you see this having for the just comics in general?
Well, I think in the short term, we're going to lose some people that because, as Todd McFarlane said in one of his interviews, I think he did with Forbes, he said that you can break a habit if you stop doing it for so long, right?
Yeah, he referred to it as a drug addiction.
I mean, and it is. And I like the way he even said it. He's like, I know how addiction works.
Yeah.
It's like we got to keep them hooked. And it's kind of true. Like people kind of miss it. Now, a lot of us, obviously, we've been going back and buying old stuff or rereading stuff or reading stuff we've never read before. So in the short term, I think you're going to lose some people. A lot of people may be hesitant to go back out into the public to get back. And that's why the publishers are going to be releasing very little at first, right? Kind of ease their way back into it. The biggest thing that seems to be coming out of this is a lot of small press who can't afford to wait for Diamond to get caught up on their payments or anything like that. They've gone ahead and jumped the gun. Scout announced today that they're going to go ahead and do direct sales. And I think they've been doing direct sales to the people. But opening it up to retailers, Source Point Press is doing that. Alterna moved over, and they're completely done with Diamond now, I think, at this point. But that may be more. There may be more involved in that one. But the DC thing is kind of crazy because it really lit a fire under a lot of retailers. Like they really didn't take the news too well at all. And so DC just announced, because there were 3 weeks that they announced the books, and now they've just announced 2 more weeks that are going to be distributed by Midtown and DCBS. And
so did you guys receive the email?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. We got it. We're ordering, because we want comics. We want to serve our customers, and we want our comics, so and we've been doing mail order, we've been doing limited curbside pickup and things like that. So we've been doing what we can within the rules that we have here in our state. And obviously business is declined for like everybody. But we're still trucking along and people, I think it's important to get comics back in some form or fashion, because as McFarlane said, you don't want to break that habit, right? Because it's kind of easy to break. We've seen an enormous amount of support from our customer base, and from just our friends and families of people coming in and just maybe throwing store credit on their account and just picking up things and like, hey, what would you suggest? And just buying things and stuff like that. So that's really cool. But I think that DC is definitely straining their relationship with Diamond. Now, it seems like most of the other big publishers, Boom and Marvel and Image, it seems like they're kind of like standing in solidarity with Diamond, because it's kind of like they're all very hesitant to say anything because they're just waiting for Diamond. But DC was that first big one to be like, we're not waiting for Diamond. And so that now will shift long-term into the industry, I think, because it will cause Diamond to realize that they could lose what they've built over the last 2 or 3 decades in an instance, and a lot of people have been talking about the Diamond kind of almost has the monopoly on comic book distribution. And if there's not a lot of strong competition, then Diamond can get away with things that other distributors wouldn't get away with. But I think that's the biggest thing. And it's definitely a day-to-day item. Like, you got to look and see what's happening, because you're getting two different stories from DC and Diamond right now. And that could really, if DC, because I think that DC is going to continue to work with Diamond. I'm kind of rambling. I'm sorry. This is what I do. Robbie rants. So I think that DC and Diamond, I think it's going to kind of even itself out because of the retailer response to the new distributors, but it's definitely made Diamond realize, and the rest of the industry, how weak having one sole distributor is, because, it's allegedly that DC was the ones that said it's like Diamond's holding our books hostage, so I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. And, a lot of people are saying it's doom and gloom, or it's going to be the end of the industry. People say that all the time.
Yeah.
People say that literally all the time. We went through Marvel going bankrupt. Like, comic books, will find a way. Life finds a way. But I think that's going to be the biggest thing, is the strain that's happening right now with retailers and shifting currents and trends. And I don't know. I kind of went on a big rant about it last night, but I think or Sunday night, I think a lot of retailers are kind of stuck in their ways, and I think a lot of them still act like it's 1994 or something like that. So I don't know. I think there some things can change, but we'll have to see.
Well, there's a lot of stuff in there that I actually want to spend some time on with you. But you brought up something, and I read the article as well, the Todd McFarlane one in Forbes. Thought it was a great article. Now, he had some ideas about what to do during this time as far as putting books out digitally for free, so that people are still getting their content and then supporting the comic shops when they come back. He was definitely on board for supporting the comics, but he's like, we need to get something out right now, and we have the opportunity to put stuff out right now. Why don't we do it? What was your take on that article? I mean, I thought it was really good. What's your take on it?
I think Todd had a really, really good understanding of the situation. The first thing I really loved about his article, about his interview, was that he said that the entire publishing industry needs to have like one cohesive message about this.
Yeah.
And that's something, because as a retailer, we spent days and days just like, what's going on? What's going on? Like, you just had no clue. And you're getting different emails from different companies, and they're all kind of basically saying the same thing. And then you got others kind of doing their own thing. And it's been really weird and kind of a bit of a problem. But the other thing that I really liked that he said was that, first of all, when he said that pick like your biggest books, give them away digitally for free. Yeah. The people will come back, but we can't break the habit of absorbing new content. And my favorite thing about that was, this is Todd McFarlane, who is one of the most influential men in the comic book industry. This dude raised $1 million in a day for a action figure of Spawn. So like, imagine if anybody else had that kind of fundraising ability in this industry. So I like how he said, we can't afford it. So he knows the business practices. He's one of the head bigwigs at Image. He's been at DC. He's been at Marvel. He knows those people. He knows how these industries work. And I thought it was a good idea, because he also said, we have an opportunity now as comic books to fill an entertainment void. Movies are not being released right now. TV shows, like everybody is so fiending for entertainment. They're at home, that Tiger King became like the biggest show of the year. Do you think that would have happened if there wasn't a COVID-19 shutdown quarantine type thing?
Maybe not to the effect, but it would have caught on a little bit.
But people are trying to fill time right now, and Todd had a really good idea about, let's take some big titles. How about Batman? How about Spider-Man? How about your Empire thing? How about Spawn? He even said, like, I'll throw out Spawn out there for free. Let's do it. This is a great opportunity to get people not to just sit around, not have new content and leave the industry, but to actually bring some new people in because they're bored. And hey, check us. Well, what's going on with Batman? Hey, that's a really good issue. Maybe I'm going to check Batman out now, or something like that.
This is just a little side note, but I think it needs to be recognized through Todd's Spawn book. It is still one of the only books with a $2.99 cover price.
That is true.
He likes that price point. He thinks it's affordable. I've read articles from other, from the main guy at Image. He actually said he thought comics were too expensive.
Stevenson?
Yeah, it came out not too far after when we did the coffee video about our comics too expensive, and he flat out said, yeah, $3.99, $4.99, yeah, those are probably a little bit more than what they should be. And I think that Todd, that's the whole reason he has his book at $2.99. He thinks that that's what they should sell for. There's no reason he should have that book at that price other than what he feels in his heart. And I point that out every week when I feature that book. This book is still $2.99. It is a major book. This is the main title. So
yeah, and it's only $2.99, and it's not, even though it's hot still, it's not the best-selling comic book. So if you add in Batman numbers, like surely Batman they could afford a cheaper price on it, right? So I don't know.
Somebody said here, I just want to throw this out there. And Travis's real name is Thomas. I don't know what that is. My real name is Travis. my father's name is Tom or Thomas or Tommy. I don't know. SDA, hello. Appreciate you stopping by here. Anyway, I really enjoyed that article. I don't know. It popped up on my feed and I read it and I liked everything he had to say. The implementing it seemed like it would be by the time they were able to implement this, it'd probably be winding down. So it's something if they can put in the future to have that in place. Now let's hope that this never happens again. Yeah, right. But in the event something does happen, if something like that was in place, they could just flip a switch and they go from there and it makes sense and things would flow pretty easily. But I want to get back to when you got that email from DC. You're looking at it from two ways. I know you're a collector, you're a fan of comics. You got to look at it from the collector's point of view, and you got to look at it from what your job is. You're a manager of a comic book shop. Can you separate the difference of opinion? Because here's the thing. Diamond gets raked over the coals. I've done it. A lot of people have done it, and they've been raked over the coals for years. Oh, they have a monopoly. They do this. They do that. I'll be honest, maybe my information might not be accurate. I don't have the insider track as far as a comic shop owner or someone who has done business with them firsthand. It's a whole different scenario. Here we are. Publishers are deciding to do books themselves or go through another channel. This is something that a lot of people have said, hey, this is what we want to see happen. We don't want to have Diamond have a monopoly. And here they're doing it and they're getting hell for it. They're getting tons of pushback. It's bizarre. So I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Well, first of all, Diamond is got a great place for the retailers because Diamond's the ultimate scapegoat. You can always blame it on Diamond, right? And I think retailers have kind of become accustomed to that. And I don't know what it's like for every retailer. I'm sure every retailer and their Diamond rep, it's a different experience.
Yeah.
The shop I work at, we've been in business for 25 years.
Wow.
So Diamond takes care of us. If we have something go wrong, if we're short a book, if we're damaged a book, they do whatever they can to take care of it. They don't always get to take care of it. A lot of the books come damaged sometimes. They literally just, like Jim said, put them in a box, tape them up. And if somebody bought something from you, like a lot of comic books from you on eBay, and you just put them in a box and taped it up and shipped them, you would get like a bad review, right?
Yeah.
So Diamond gets away with certain things like that, but they also, it's kind of like a give and take with the retailers because they're the scapegoat. So if a customer comes in, let's just say a customer comes in, they're like, why don't you have this book? I can just go, well, Diamond messed it up. And they'll believe me, even if I'm not telling the truth. Maybe we forgot to order it.
Here's the real deal, folks.
Yeah.
And
but
it's not that, I dropped it on the way, bring it up to the front counter.
The reason why, and so Diamond takes care of us, and I don't know what it's like for every individual store. I'm sure it's different. So we have a good relationship with Diamond. The DC thing has bothered so many retailers in particular because they were announced we're going to have to go through these two new companies, Lunar Distribution and UCS, right?
Which,
and then,
from what I understand, am I right? Is that Midtown Comics?
Yeah, that's Midtown, and it's DCBS, Discount Comic Book
Online thing?
Yeah, that thing. The two biggest online comic book subscription retailers,
Sure.
So comic book retailers are like, so you're saying that now I have to get my DC comic books from my competition, from my biggest competition, from another comic shop. So another comic shop is now going to be a distributor. That doesn't seem like it's going to fly for the long term. You either sell comics or you distribute comics. You shouldn't really kind of do both. It gives you an unfair advantage. obviously,
That would be like Walmart buying from Amazon.
Yeah, right. I mean, so it's like, does Midtown get a bigger discount? Like Midtown already has crazy amounts of discounts because they order so much because they're such a big operation. And so a lot of small retailers will feel like that's their competition. They're trying to put them out of business. But at the same time, there's a side of me that goes, well, that makes sense. Midtown does all of DC's direct subscriptions. So if you subscribe to a book directly from DC, it's Midtown that fulfills that order for you. Mm-hmm. So they are more akin and ready and able to distribute comic books because they've done it for so long, and they've obviously proven themselves good at it. Midtown and DCBS, they've been around for a long time. But so like I was really shocked because I thought Penguin Random House or some kind of book distributor would jump on, but I don't think that some of the things that people really don't like about Diamond, as far as certain things like shipping and stuff like that, it's almost as if you need people who care about comic books to handle this stuff. And maybe they felt that Midtown and DCBS would be able to handle the idea of sending comic books, which kind of almost need to be kept as in good of a condition as possible. Maybe they were better at it than the book distributors or something. But so there's different sides. There's the fan side. I just want DC Comics. Yeah. Then there's the retailer side where I'm like, that's interesting that stores are now going to be our distributors. That means that we have to give our information, including ordering numbers, to Midtown Comics. That kind of is going to rub people the wrong way. And for a stopgap measure, I think that's a good idea. I think that's fine. But if this is something that they want to continue once everything's kind of back to relatively normal, I'm going to start having some problems with it, because what's to stop Midtown from being like, oh, so by the way, we offer a 50% discount because they get them cheaper now because they're distributors, so it seems almost like a conflict of interest for a long-term strategy. But that's what I think. But I can easily separate the professional retailer comic book guy from fan YouTube commentator, comic book fan. Yeah. So I can do that. And I have like a get out of paradox free card, and it means I can have two conflicting ideas at the same time. I think every human has that right.
So are you guys ordering the books?
Yeah. So
you're ordering from basically Midtown Comics.
Yeah.
To get I mean, they're not exactly releasing some bangers.
No, like the first week's just a couple of reprints and like Daphne Byrne. Yeah. But the releases get more intense. I don't know if you've seen the week 4 and week 5 releases, but you're starting to get
the first 3 weeks.
You're starting to get more content in there. Like it's going to be a slow build, and it's because they know that a lot of shops are forcibly closed or customers don't want to come out, so they're not going to. And a lot of these shops, we've been closed for like a month or so, so we don't have the capital to like handle, a 500 comic book week. So I think it's a good thing, but I think that DC is 100% still down with the Diamond route, because I think that's the reason why they held Batman 92. They want it to be a big deal. They probably don't want to reprint the 230,000 copies that are sitting in Diamond's warehouses right now. So by June, everybody's kind of anticipating that the industry will be relatively back to normal. So I think they're just doing this because they also, this is something that I've watched a lot of people talking about this, and everybody talks about the retailers, and we talk about the fans, and we talk about the publishers, but what about the creators? Those people need to get paid, and without those creators getting paid to do that work, without Josh Williamson getting paid to write the Flash, we ain't got Josh Williamson's Flash run. So they got to get paid, so they want to keep making content. DC has been, I think, for all the faults that people have laid at their feet over this, I think that they've been the most adaptable and the most game-changing out of all of this. They've looked to do what they needed to do. They made all the comic books from Diamond returnable all the way through June. They did that. So the retailers are taken care of. So if the retailers, because Diamond's saying that the DC orders are still in effect. So when Diamond ships, they're going to ship us our Daphne Byrnes. But we also got Daphne Byrnes coming from Midtown, right? But DC has made them fully returnable through the end of June. So that's cool. They were trying to, they just launched a new digital platform where they're going to start doing, those, the original content that's in those Walmart giants or whatnot. Yeah. They're going to start releasing those on a daily basis, digitally. So DC, I think, is trying to be a little bit more flexible with it, but it's obviously running people the wrong way. But I also think we're an industry that doesn't really like change very much.
Yeah. So say DC decided to do this, but didn't go with the companies that are associated, obviously, Midtown Comics. It was some other, like you said, Penguin or something like that.
Yeah.
I think the response would have been different.
It'd been way different. Completely
way different. So it's just the people who they're deciding to use is what, from what it sounds like, that's who people have a problem with. When this first started, when we kind of went in lockdown and stuff, there was another company that kind of came out, the Comic Hub. Are you familiar with them?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So I don't think I asked you about that, but I'm curious to hear your opinion on the Comic Hub. I actually sat down in their presentation at Comic Pro earlier this year, and how they described it, it was a Netflix of comic books for retailers to do the things. Now, the things that they were offering to do, which literally lasted about a day before it got shut down. I mean, it was quick. One day, this news breaks. A bunch of people say something. I'm on my other channel talking about this, saying, whoa, wait a minute. This is not the solution, what you guys think it is. This is something totally different. What was your take?
Well, again, I got multiple takes because there are multiple Robbies in here. As a fan, I was like, hell yeah, I want my comics. There's no reason that we can't do this. That sounds on like, just if someone just tells you that, this sounds like a great idea. Well, go ahead, you buy it. You can read it digitally. And then there you go. There will be a print copy waiting for you at your shop when it's available.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. As a retailer, it's like, why are we now beholden to them? And now we're trusting them to give us the 50%. Yeah. Right. And it kind of takes us out of it. And then, as you said on your channel, what's to stop them one day from being like, you know what, we're just going to ship it directly to the customer. Screw the retailers.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought it was a good try at helping the industry weather the storm and also hijacking that industry at the same time.
I looked at it as they saw an opening and they were going to throw something out there and see what happened. And because there was nothing behind it, they literally had not talked to any publishers. I mean, they said that, oh yeah, this is all going to be worked out. There was literally nothing behind it. I mean, there was one other like comic shop, because this was an actual comic shop in New Zealand. I met the guy. I saw him do the presentation and stuff. I said hello to him. I was like, the first thing that went through my mind, just like what you said, the option was you go to their website, you purchase the book, okay? You get the digital copy, and then the book shows up at your comic shop, and then they share the profits with the comic shop. That was the basis of what I kind of saw, what I read. Yeah. Like you said, my first thing is, okay, so I give them money, they get all my information, and I'm supposed to trust that they don't eventually decide to use that information for themselves and just say, hey, why do I bother sending it to the comic shop? Why do I bother splitting the profit with the comic shop when I can just send it directly to you and take all the money? And what that does, it just kills comic shops.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to help them. It was going to kill them. And I was like, I'm really hoping people will take, because there was an article on Bleeding Cool, and it literally said Comic Hub saves the comic book industry. I was like, that's bullshit, man. That is not what this is. And they're pulling the wool over people's eyes, and they need to look at it. And I was on there saying, hey, do yourself a favor, go look at this. This is not what that is. And sure enough, a day later, they pulled the plug and they were gone. So I'm happy that didn't go through.
Yeah, that was an interesting week, and about the Bleeding Cool article, I know Bleeding Cool gets a lot of flack for stuff like that, but I don't know if it's just my impression of Rich Johnston, but I feel like all of his headlines and everything they do is kind of a little tongue-in-cheek, Yeah. And they really they use a lot of hyperbole and stuff, but not they do it in a very we know we're doing this, winky type of way. So I actually really like Rich, and I thought that was, when I saw that article and I read it, and I couldn't tell if Rich was really on board with this idea or if he was kind of mocking it in a way at the same time, because then a couple days later he got to write the headline where it was like, whoops, just kidding, comics industry not saved.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was April 1st. I was like, is this an April Fool's joke?
I know. As I thought, the first thing I thought, I was like, well, this is an April Fool's joke.
Yeah. I
because they
thought that
do
was
that.
really interesting. There's been a lot of weird things kind of come out of this. You know, everything being shut down, and you know, one of the things that Todd said in his article, we'll kind of circle back around to that. You know, he went through the crash in the 90s with everything. He's like, this is something we've never experienced. There's never been a time where books weren't being printed. There was nothing being made. The shops were closed. This is totally different than the 90s crash. And like he said, we just have to adapt and we'll come out of it. And I think as the ball rolls, I'm glad that DC is trying to do something. It's better than doing nothing. Whether it's the right decision, I don't know. Maybe it just leads to a different decision down the road that works out better for everybody. I'm hoping that's the case. Unfortunately, DC made news before all this happened. It wasn't very positive news. And now they're making news right now, and it doesn't seem to be very positive. I'm hoping that they turn, because there's some great titles from DC that we both like. You mentioned The Flash. That's one of my favorites. And all the new stuff. I don't even know what that 50 or the 5G thing is happening anymore.
It's been halted. Production on that has halted. Production on some DC Black Label has halted, but it hasn't stopped. It's just been kind of deliberately postponed a little bit because Free Comic Book Day is supposed to be in a couple weeks, and it ain't going to happen.
Oh, did they reschedule that?
The last we heard, because this was throughout all of this, we've had some crazy ideas. There was the idea to have Free Comic Book May. Did you hear about that one?
I did.
Where they were going to slowly reveal like throughout the whole month of May, and like retailers like, that's a terrible idea because Free Comic Book Day, for most people, it's a day where I get to go get a free comic book, and maybe Marvel or DC's launching something new, and that's cool, right? For the retailer, it's Black Friday. Like, basically your whole year gets planned around this one day. It's going to be a big event. You can't have that big event kind of spread out throughout. So the last I heard is the plan currently is to do it sometime in July.
Nice.
But that's what I've heard. But
there is a comment here. We're going to shift gears right here. Come on, man. I
wish we could. It's not set up here on StreamYard.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Robbie got a Joker van, and he's like a kid in the candy store. He's so excited and happy. Look at this thing. Look at that wonderful Joker van.
Yeah.
He's got his new toy.
The talk of the town, man.
The first time I saw it, I thought it was the Barbie Dream Van, but then I looked a little closer. No, it's the Joker van.
Oh, the Barbie Dream Van would be cool because you could fit more action figures in there because it's made for Barbies, which were bigger.
There you go. So I appreciate you kind of filling me in on that aspect. I kind of wanted to talk to you about that and get your opinion from a comic shop, from a guy who works at the comic shop and everything, and a manager of the comic shop.
Yeah, well, here's another thing. Not to interrupt you, Bueller, but I come on your show and I tell you when I want to talk. That's terrible. But like on the flip side of the retailers and the Midtown and the DCBS stuff, right? Do you think that comic book fans care where their shop gets their comic books from, or do you think they care that their shop has the books they want?
I think that first off, they want the books that they want. I don't think they do care, but I think that a lot of people do form relationships with the people at the comic shops and get to know them personally, and then there might be a little bit more. I'm trying to think of the right words for this. Whatever makes you more money, because we all know that comic shops don't make a lot of money. If there's a better option for the comic shop to get the books and to make more money and put them in your pocket, I think as customers who really enjoy our comic shops and value them, that's what we want the best. Yeah.
So like that was the idea, because there have been a lot of shops that said like, well, during this whole thing with DCBS in Midtown, we're either not going to order DC Comics or we're not going to order them for the shelves. Is that good business sense? I don't think so, because the number one person that you serve is the customer.
Yeah.
You know, in your own interest as a retailer, obviously that has to come into play. You need the best deal. You need the best distributors. You need all that stuff. You need the best, staff. But ultimately it comes down to pleasing your customers. And if my customer wants Daphne Byrne #4 on April 28th, I got to have it for him, and that's just kind of the approach. That's why to explain a little bit more why we went ahead to go right with it, even though a lot of people were kind of hesitant about it, is because ultimately it's about serving the customers. Yeah. And everything else that goes on behind the scenes, it can get worked out in its own way. But I think it's a little silly for retailers to come out and be like, well, we're going to refuse to do this. And be like, all right, well, you just lost some like hardcore DC fan. like who will buy their books now from someone else who does have those books. So
are you guys doing curbside pickup?
yes.
Do you guys have an online presence for your store?
Most of our online presence is on Facebook. We actually do a lot of business of people just messaging us on Facebook, or we, whenever we're going through a collection, we'll usually snap a picture of some of the better stuff that we find, and we'll put it up on our Facebook account, and someone will be like, I want it. And we're like, okay, you got it. And then people will call, be like, hey, do you still have that Todd McFarlane Batman cover? And we're like, no, it's already been claimed. So we do a lot of stuff that way.
Okay. What about if people want to set up an online, like a pull list or whatnot and have it shipped to them?
You can contact us on Facebook, or you can contact us through email at thedeepcomics@yahoo.com.
There you go. So I had someone in the chat, Joshua Brown, just asked that question. So, hey, Bueller, just recently found your channel. I've been really enjoying it. Don't have an LCS anywhere close to me, so I find my comics for cheap at antique stores. Any suggestions for online order? There you go. Robbie will do it. He's got a comic shop. Me personally, my local comic shop is called Things from Another World. They have an online store as well. It's TIFA or thingsfromanotherworld.com. I've heard their shipping is a little expensive. I don't know because they just ship it straight to the store for me, so I've not paid shipping. But I know right now they have there you go, Deep Comics and Games on Facebook, right?
Yeah, we're on Facebook and we're on Twitter, but we rarely check that.
Okay. There you go. Look at that. Maybe you might have another customer right there, Robbie.
Yeah, and Comics Club is in the chat, and they're retailers too. So
Comics Club, yes, exactly.
Yep.
He's located down there in Florida, and am I supposed to be there right? No. Today I would have been coming home. Today's the day I would have came home from Florida.
Yeah, because it should have been MegaCon, right?
Yeah, and it really pisses me off.
Yeah, see, that was
really wanted to go to Florida.
It was the same weekend as the expo because I remember I looked it up because I found out that you and Bob and everybody were going to be down there.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the cats from the 90 crew go to that one too. And so I was like, oh man, I can make it down to Orlando. That's like, it's in Orlando, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like not too far. I mean, I can drive there.
Oh man.
But it was the same weekend as the expo. So
man.
That wasn't going to happen anyway. Either way, it wasn't going to happen. But one day.
Well, they have the Diamond Retailer Summit as well.
Who does? Orlando? Oh, yeah, they do. I've never gone to that.
It was going on the same time as the MegaCon. Well, the few days in advance. I was going to be at that also, but did not work out. So let's get to some more fun things. Not that stuff wasn't fun. Okay.
That was fun, wasn't it?
that was some insider industry stuff. So both of us are big comic book fans. We read a lot of comics. You read way more than I do. What books have you been missing reading right now? I mean, what's the first right now? If one book can be printed and put in your hand right now to read, what would that be, Robbie?
Probably the next issue of Something is Killing the Children, or probably the 5th issue of Red Mother. Or probably the next issue of Once and Future. The Boom stuff's probably the stuff I'm missing the most.
It's scary how good their stuff is.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing, and I'll be fully honest. Boom. I've talked with people at Boom. They've sent me their books, to kind of review and stuff like that. I just want to be totally honest about that stuff. They're good. Their books are good. There's ones I don't like. I'm not a Power Rangers fan. That's not my bag. There's a couple other ones in there that's I don't like as well. But as far as the ones that Robbie just mentioned, Something is Killing the Children, The Red Mother, Folklords, which just ended, Once in Future. I mean, it just goes Alienated. Another one. I enjoy that one. It just goes right down the line of all awesome books. And it's one after another after another. And I look forward to every new release. It's like, damn, there it is. There's a new #1. Boom Studios. I got to get it. And they have really made a focus to detail on not releasing a bunch of books, but quality books. And you can tell, and from what that has done, they are now the 4th largest publisher in the industry. And it didn't take them very long to overtake the other people. Right now it's Marvel, DC, Image, and now Boom Studios, and it shows because of the quality of the book. Yeah.
And Boom it was terrible timing because Once in Future and Something is Killing the Children just came back.
Yeah.
And had their first issues of their second arcs, and they were amazing. we were doing that live stream at the end of March. We were all talking. We were all excited about the next issues. Well, here we are. And Red Mother, to have such a slow burn, and now the finale's coming up, and we don't know what's going on. Also, the same with Olympia. We got one more issue of Olympia, and we're just waiting for it, right? But the Vault stuff has actually still been coming out digitally. And I know a lot of those cats, so if I wanted them, I could probably get PDFs or whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm also talking about Dark Horse. Mike Allred just launched a new series, X-Ray Robot, and I loved the first issue. And I've been on a big Madman kick lately, which has me missing that book even more. I want to get more of that book. So, yeah, I'm definitely missing some of those really, really strong indies. But of course, for the big two, I would be missing out on the next issue of Thor. I think Donny Cates has been just killing Thor. And honestly, I want to read Batman 92. I want to know what all this, if this never has the hype ever been so long for a new character as Punchline. And it's like just added to it now, right?
I think she's made like 3 appearances. It's still none of them are her first appearance.
Exactly. Everybody's been waiting for that 92, that Art Germ cover, and it's just sitting in warehouses right now.
Does it? I mean, I saw the cover. It really didn't look that great to me, to be honest.
I'm not the biggest Art Germ fan to begin with, but I think it's decent. I think it looks fine. He kind of does the same thing in every cover he does. I think the same thing about Matina. I know a lot of people get wrapped up in those guys, but I don't know. I'm more of a cover A guy. Sometimes there's an Art Germ variant that I really like, and sometimes a Matina variant does strike me, but for the most part, they just kind of do the same thing, and it's just kind of, I've seen that. I've seen that Batman before.
Yeah, I noticed in your reviews, most of the covers that you show are the A cover for the books.
Most of the time I do that just so it makes sure it has the logo, so that you as the viewer can know what I'm talking about. But
you mentioned another great book by Image, Olympia, and not the last issue, but issue 3. And I think you had said it's like the best comic you've read in a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to tell people, if you haven't read Olympia, I mean, the whole run is really good. There's only 4 issues so far, but issue 3 was out of left field, and it is an emotional roller coaster of a book. It's not your standard comic book. It's not. There's no bells and whistles going on. It's very emotional. It's very in depth, and it's. I don't want to say too much about it because it's a type of book that people need to go read. Because if you say what it is, then people will kind of just jump to a conclusion. But issue number 3, I mean, we get them all, but Olympia number 3, one of the best books I've read in a long time.
It's a great book. And when that book launched right before, Kurt sent me the first 4 issues. So I got everything except for the final issue. Yeah. And now I'm having to wait, just like the rest of you schlubs. And I'm just
come on, man. So you already read issue 3 before you let the review out that one day.
Yeah, I read the first 4 issues. Like the first time I read Olympia, I read the first 4 issues back to back.
So you held all that emotion in for like 2 months.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to be spoiler free on those videos. I've been accused of giving spoilers, and then I've been accused of also not giving enough spoilers. And I'm like, well, I think I hit a decent balance. I don't know.
Now, you mentioned right there about spoilers, and it's not an easy thing to balance doing a review of a comic book, which is basically 22 pages of word bubbles, without spoiling the book. It's not easy to do. You have found a way to review multiple books, and you do a great job. And really, I'll just say it. I dabbled a little bit in trying to do reviews, and they were okay, but I just enjoyed yours better. So I just rather not make the video and just watch yours, to be totally honest. Because everything I need to know about a book, you cover. How did that take some time to be able to review a book without spoiling the book?
I mean, I don't know. I've ever since day 1 of the weekly comic book review, I just wing it. I don't have a plan. The only plan I make is what order I'm going to talk about them. So I put them in an order, and then I literally just look at the next book in the stack and I just go off. I mean, this is my job. I talk about comic books for a living. So I've been in the retail industry since 1999, I think. And so I think I've learned how to pitch a book to a customer without spoiling it for them, how to entice them, but not to spoil it. But mostly what I try to do is, I know a lot of people, when they review books, they review the story, right? They review like, oh, this cool moment happened and that's cool. But what I try to do, and I don't think I'm always the best at it because the fanboy always comes out. But I try to review the technique and the craft behind the book as well. I try to look at what exactly did the writer do? What did the artist do? What did the colorist do? What did the letterer do? How did it all come together? So I try to focus on craft and technique and a little bit of fanboy. Oh, this part was so freaking cool. So, but I think just being a retailer, you can't sell a comic book by being like, yo, this movie's awesome. Bruce Willis is a ghost the whole time. You don't find out till the end. And I worked at movie stores for a long time too. So I've either been selling comic books or selling movies. So it's kind of something I've learned how to do, I guess.
Well, I'm not the only one who agrees that your reviews are some of the best. Robbie's reviews are top notch. Let's see. We got some other ones in it. Olympia is so good. That's what I'm missing the most. Another great one. I think I saw someone in here. Bob World is in here. How you doing, Bob? Bob World. See my T-shirt? Bob made this shirt for me.
Nice.
Thank you, Bob. I wear it all the time. I have a white one, but I've gotten a little bit bigger, so it doesn't fit as well.
Oh man, I'm going through that right now too.
Yeah.
And this whole idea doesn't happen. I mean, it doesn't help either, right? Because I'm like, I want to support my local restaurants. My lady, she's a server. She literally has not been working for like over a month at this point. And so we try to support our local restaurants. And so like because we've been at work and I've been doing a lot of inventory stuff and like getting everything together. So we'll order out a lot, the delivery services and whatnot, man, that adds up in money and calories, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, man. I literally went on a diet, like at the February 1st.
Yeah,
I went on a diet because I was like, okay, I want to get rid. I'm going to Orlando, Florida. I'm going to meet some hot ladies there, and one of them is going to agree to, hang out with me. Probably not, but my hopes and dreams we're counting on that. So I literally went on a diet to try to look a little bit better. Well, then the shit hits the fan, and then the diet's out the window.
It's like, screw this, man.
If there's ever going to be a Comic-Con again, so I don't know.
Yeah, and it's way easy. This was something I experienced for a couple weeks, and I didn't even realize it because I was like, I try to keep a positive mental attitude. I try to stay just focused and positive and focus on what's good and what I like and blah, blah, blah. Yep. And I was realizing that what's going on is heavy, right? And even when you're like trying to just keep a bright face on and make it through, and it's heavy. This is a crazy situation, and it led to a little bit of a depression for me that I didn't even see coming, and it just kind of happened. And one of the things that a lot of us do when you're kind of feeling low, and maybe you don't even consciously realize it, is you try to hit that dopamine button. Yeah. And so you're drinking more beer, you're eating more tacos, things like that. Tacos and beer make me feel good,
I literally was like sitting here, and I was like, because all the news started happening, I was like, man, I haven't had fast food. I haven't drank a soda in like a month and a half. And I'm looking at the news and I'm like, man, if we go into quarantine, I'm drinking a Coca-Cola. And sure enough, like a day later, quarantine for a month, I was like, man, I'm getting a Coca-Cola right now. And I'm going to Taco Bell.
Yes.
That was it right there.
Absolutely. I was at the grocery store one time and I was like, if I get this 5-pound bag of gummies, I'm going to eat the whole thing in 2 days. And then I'm like, you know what, though? Screw it. Nobody in my lifetime's been through a pandemic, so I'm going to have these damn gummy bears.
There you go.
It doesn't always work out the best.
We have this great comment right here, monkeying around. This is actually my nephew, all the way over in, I believe, Kansas. He says, you went on a diet. Like he's surprised. This comes from a kid who only eats chicken McNuggets and cheese pizza.
It's true, though. I know it because on the coffee video, you were drinking black coffee for like weeks.
That's right, dude. It was like black cold brew coffee with no sweetener, no nothing. And stuff,
and dude. Bob kept teasing you with that sugar-free eggnog that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I had lost like 20 pounds already on that diet and stuff.
That's awesome, dude.
And I mean, if here's the thing, if they've rescheduled MegaCon, but I really don't think it's going to happen. They rescheduled it for June. I don't think they're going to okay a big, huge event with hundreds of thousands of people in June. I just don't think it is. So my feeling is they're going to reschedule or they're cancel it. But if they do go through for some reason and it's confirmed, I'll go back on my diet, try to look better for,
Might as well start now. Do it now. Get that head start, Bueller.
No, let's not get carried away. But for one unlucky lady.
Very unlucky.
Yeah. For one very unlucky and soon to be disappointed lady, I'll see you in Florida.
You got to give yourself more credit than that, Bueller. You're a cool guy.
Oh, okay. Let's move on here to the next.
You don't want anybody from Florida anyway. Trust me, right? You think Florida? You don't want anybody from Florida anyway. Trust me.
Oh, come on, man.
I'm just kidding. Florida's a lovely state. That's Alabama. All of us vacation in Florida.
So, how long have you been at the shop
that I work at right now?
Yeah.
I have been there in this iteration since 2010, so about 10 years.
Okay.
I worked there for 2 years before that. And for 3 years before that, I was the store manager and partner of a shop called Comic Corner. And then that wound up becoming Rocket City Collectibles. So, but at the current, so overall, I've been at the Deep, both times included, about 12 to 13 years. And I've been in the industry collectively, put it together, about 15, 16.
So has your online YouTube brought customers into your shop?
Yeah, yeah, it has. And it's a little weird because some of them were my own customers, right? And there were maybe, and I'm the manager, so I don't get a lot of FaceTime anymore. I'm usually pretty busy and I'm usually focused on what I'm doing. So I have a bad habit sometimes of being really short when people are trying to get my attention because I'm really busy.
Yeah.
And when I have someone who's come in who recognizes me from YouTube, if I'm in a really, really focused, or if I've had a bad afternoon, it's not always the most pleasant experience for me. It's really hard for me sometimes to shift out of that gear and get into rock and Robbie mode. Because I'm a very serious man, Bueller.
Oh, but, I can tell. I can tell by your Joker man.
Oh yeah, right. No, but there are a lot of people that will that already were my customers that were like, "Hey man, I saw you on YouTube." And what's crazier is when I see people like come up there like, "Hey man, I saw you with Bueller and Jim Mint." Or I even had this one guy go, "Hey man, I saw you on Dylan's comic book channel the other day."
Oh, that's
and
cool.
I was like, "Dylan? You know about Dylan's YouTube channel, but not mine?"
Just the way
what
you
the
said
hell?
that.
Dylan. But no, it's cool. And I've actually had some people come, like message us, and like and start doing like mail order business with us and stuff. So yeah, it happens occasionally, but not super much.
Yeah. So I mean, have you been recognized at a Comic-Con?
I have, yeah. I was recognized at a few Comic Cons. I was recognized by creators at Heroes Con last year, and it blew my mind. We went to Heroes Con, which is in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that was last summer. My buddy Robbie took me, another fella named Robbie, and not me. I didn't split into two and take myself to Heroes Con, but we were there, and that's when. So I go, and Liana Kangas was there, and she's the artist of She Said Destroy, and she's got a bunch of other books, but that was a Vault comic book, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people know I really like Vault comics. And I got a good relationship with Adrian and Damien and Tim, and they're really cool fellas. So I just went to go get an autograph, right? And so I was like, "Hey, can you sign my She Said Destroy?" And she looked at me with this puzzled face. She goes, "You're that guy from YouTube that reviewed my book and gave it a really good review." I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And she was like, "You're Robbie, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Robbie." And then I go to meet David Papose, who did he did Spencer and Locke at the time, but since then he's done Going to the Chapel. He recognized me. And then at Memphis Con last year, Liana was there again. So that was cool. And she sees me as I'm in Scott Snyder's line, and she goes, "Oh my God, it's Robbie!" And Vita Ayala is right next to her, and she tells him, "That's Robbie. Robbie's like a Vault Comics influencer. He's the best." And it just like lifted me up, made me feel so good. And then I had a couple people that were just there at the con that recognized me, and they were like, "Rockin' Robbie," and I was just like, "I have the power."
Jesus.
Now, it's really cool to be recognized. It makes me feel really special. So if you ever see me in public, definitely shout out and represent.
Oh, if I ever see you in public, man, I'm going to do more than that.
Oh, yeah, right?
A full body tackle right there in public.
I'll spear your ass, man. You better watch out.
It's Goldberg right through there. So let me get back to some comic book stuff. And I'm curious to hear your opinion on some things. All the comic book movies, all the TV shows, do you think that has a good influence? Do you see a lot of return on the comic shop level? I mean, do you see Black Panther come out in the movie theater? Was there a run on Black Panther books the next day?
There was. Yeah, there was. Yeah, there is. It's not as big, I think, as people want it to be. It's not like Black Panther's going to sell 100 or 150 copies more at my shop. But what happens is people come in, and it's a very small percentage, I'm sure, right? But they will come in, and usually what happens is it's not adults. I mean, every once in a while we have an adult that comes in, right? And they'll be like, "Hey, I just watched this Black Panther movie. I want to know what's going on." Or they'll be like, "Hey, this Avengers movie's coming out. I want to read the book so I know what's coming." And then we have to tell them, like, well, that's not really, it's not exactly going to be like that. So from the superhero films, though, we get a little bit. But what really is cool to me is that I get a lot of kids that come in with their parents.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "He's really into Iron Man now. He loves Tony Stark. What can we do?" And so we go and we find him something. So that stuff is really, really cool. There have been people that have gotten into comics and have stayed into comics because of the movies. It's been smaller than I think that they want you to believe, but it is there. It does happen. But what drives more people in was something like The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead drove so many people into the shop because because it was a TV show, they wanted to read the comic book so they knew what was coming in, because everybody likes being that guy that goes, "I've already read the book.
Yeah.
I know what's going to happen."
That's true.
So I think it works better for things like that, but it doesn't work, and Walking Dead was the hugest show, at the time. So if we could get another comic book show to hit that level of success, that would be very beneficial.
Yeah, that might be quite a while before that happens again.
Yeah, I think Lock and Key, it ain't,
Yeah.
But we sold a crap ton of Umbrella Academy. We sold more Umbrella Academy trade paperbacks last year than we ever had, And so,
did you enjoy that show?
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah.
I love the book. I love Gerard Way, and I love that show. That show it's one of those rare things where they add so much extra stuff to the story that actually makes it better.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to say this because I love the Umbrella Academy comic book, but the show was better. As odd as that is, but the show was better because they're able to like flesh out a whole lot more.
So do you think the word optioned is a negative or positive word?
I think it's a positive word for the most part, because that means that some creator got a check, right? That means
I like what you have to say on this.
Yeah, some creator got a check, and that's really cool. And that means that they can now continue to write comics.
Yeah.
Because it does not, I think people get a misconception on like your Donny Cateses, your Todd McFarlane's, that's a rarity. Your Kevin Smith's, that's a rarity for the most part. And Kevin Smith made his name in Hollywood before he even made it, into comics, for the most part. But I think it's cool because that means that somebody got paid and they can continue making comics. Making comic books is not a lucrative thing to do. They pay, it's very low pay. You don't have health insurance. You don't have a retirement plan. It's freelance work. A pandemic can come along and you could be out of work, like that. Your book can get canceled. They can replace you, all kinds of stuff. So it's a difficult life as far as like trying to make a lot of money with it. So whenever I see something get optioned, that makes me feel good, because that means that person's getting paid for their work, for their ideas. I think comic books have more original ideas than film and TV have had for the last 20 years, for sure. And I'm not just talking about the superhero stuff. I'm talking about, the independent stuff. Boom, Vault, Image, those companies, Aftershock, they're putting out original stories, original content. It's not based on something else. It's something new. So I like that. Then you have the speculator market. So let's say, oh, this thing became optioned or whatever, right? Everybody flies in there. All the specs do. They'll come in there and they'll buy them up to resell or to hold on to them, right? And that's fine. But then when it's a big smash, like, okay, this happened with Umbrella Academy. When Umbrella Academy got announced, everybody came and bought every Umbrella Academy single issue we had. It's all gone. So then people come in and they're like, oh man, that once the show hits, they're like, that show was great. Do you have the issues? We're like, no, we don't have the issues. Well, can you get them? Because a lot of people have this idea in their head that we can just call someone up and any comic book you want, they can get. And, we know that that's not the case. And then the trade paperbacks went out of print, and Dark Horse took like 6 months to get them back in print, which was ridiculous. You got a TV show coming out. You got to get that stuff ready. But maybe they didn't expect it. But I think it's a good thing because that means a creator got paid. Whether they make that show or not, Jeff Lemire got paid for Descender, and he probably made more money from the rights being bought than he actually did selling that comic book.
Yeah. Now, I kind of had an idea that's probably what you were going to say, to be totally honest. And most people watching probably didn't realize that motion probably wouldn't come into their head. It's like when people see the word option, the first thing they say, I need to go get that book. I need to find that book. But I like the fact that you bring into play, that means that one of our creators, one of the people that we are huge fans of, is going to be able to pay the bills a little bit easier than they could before. And that goes a long way, and I like that. Now, on the other hand, like you said, the speculation, I do think that word option is thrown around right now like it's everything is option. I mean, there's more option than not optioned right now.
Well,
and it gets crazy sometimes.
I mean, they do that on purpose. I have heard from people in the film industry that I've known, no bigwigs or nothing, but people that they're familiar with this industry. They say that they will literally buy up properties with no intention of ever developing it, just to make sure somebody else does it.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. Like, for instance, that Marvel pays Chris Claremont a salary every year to not write comic books for someone else.
That's right.
And to not write them for Marvel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of weird.
Yeah. And the ones he does get the right, they're just little one-offs, one-shots that they let him do whatever he wants type thing. They have nothing to do with any storyline that's going on.
And he's happy with it. I talked to him about that when he was at our expo a couple years ago. I got to do a panel with him. I got to spend a big chunk of time with him. And Chris Claremont, I know you met him too, right?
Yeah.
Super cool guy. Talks. Yeah. And I went to go get him we went to go get a Coke and an ice cream cone. That's all he wanted after his panel was, I just want a Coke and an ice cream cone, and then we can deal with everybody else. And so we went and got him a Coke and an ice cream cone. And he's a super cool guy. And I don't even remember what I was trying to get at. Oh yeah, he was so cool with the idea of getting paid by Marvel but not writing comics, because he was like, I'm writing novels. And I'm cool with that. Like, I get to write novels. And I'm like, you write novels? He's like, you didn't know I wrote novels? I'm like, no.
Yeah,
no, I haven't seen him anywhere.
His choice was Pepsi and a cookie. That's what he wanted when I was doing.
He likes his sweets, man.
He does, man. And he, like you said, he talks quite a bit.
He does. If you're in a Chris Claremont line and you're like, oh, I'm only 3 people behind, it's only going to be a few minutes.
Yeah, it's like half hour.
Yeah. When I first met him, way before the panel, I brought a God Loves Man Kills. That's one of my absolute favorite X-Men books. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, I was like, Mr. Claremont, it's such a pleasure to meet you. This here is like my absolute favorite X-Men comic. And I didn't know how to take this at first, because he's also very funny. Okay. Yeah. And he'll mess with you and you won't even realize it. So he gets it and he looks at it and he looks at me with this like scowl on his face. He goes, you say it's the best X-Men comic ever? It's because it was meant to be. I wrote it that way. And I'm just like, and I think he could tell that I was kind of like, so then he goes, see this guy? And it was, what's his name? Stryker, right? Mm-hmm. The preacher or whatever. He goes, see this guy? Doesn't he look like Mike Pence? I'm kind of a prophet. And then he just goes off. And then we did the panel, and he's like going off about like Republicans and whatnot. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, we're in Alabama. You need to calm down. You need to calm down.
That's hilarious. Now he does.
Oh yeah.
He does.
My buddy Brian, who went to Memphis Con with me, just in the chat, just said, remember in Memphis when the Harley Quinn cosplayer asked him if he remembered her? It was a Captain Marvel cosplayer, but I don't know this person, so I don't know, but your idea is that this is some kind of like ditzy person, right? And they're like, hey, Chris, she's trying to get his attention to get a selfie. She's like, hey, do you take a selfie with me? Do you remember me from blah, blah, blah? He's eating like a cookie or an ice cream cone or something, right? Because he likes the sweets. He looks at her and just goes, no, and walks away.
That's totally him, dude. That's totally him.
It was so funny.
He's an interesting cat. And honestly, I've been very lucky to meet a lot of creators over the last 2 years, more than I ever thought I would. These ladies and dudes, I mean, their minds work differently than ours. They're creative minds. They're on a whole different level for what they're doing, what they're putting pen to paper and making all these stories and creating these worlds. A lot of people don't have the capacity to do that, but this is something that they do. And someone like Chris Claremont, who literally has been doing it for his whole lifetime, it's so interesting to hear them talk. I mean, I tried to talk to Chris Claremont and ask him a question. It didn't matter what I said to him. He was going to say whatever he wanted to say.
Yeah, right.
I did the panel with him as well and hosted this panel. I asked him 4 questions. He didn't answer any of them. I think I asked him something about Cyclops, and he answered me, well, I saw that Peter Parker movie. That was pretty good. That's literally what he rolls on the Spider-Man movie. And I was like,
hilarious.
Where did that come from?
We started off, and I was like, well, Chris, why don't you tell us how you got in the industry? 45 minutes later, I'm man. All right, we'll take questions from the audience.
The only question that he answered us, Tom asked him one about the Marvel team up Saturday Night Live, the not yet for primetime crew or something like that. That's the only one he actually was excited about, and he went into detail and was talking about how he met everyone there at Saturday Night Live and all that stuff. So that's really the only thing we actually got out of him. It was a great conversation. But he's going to tell you what he wants to tell you.
Yeah. We asked him what he got the most mail and response from about. Yeah. He said Killing Jean Grey.
Yeah.
And we asked him what his favorite work that has been his favorite adaptation of his work, to which he said Legion, the TV show. He said Legion was the absolute best.
Very cool. Hey, I got a really great question, and I've been looking forward to asking you this for a while. What do you say to the customer that comes in with a big, long box of 90s books that thinks they're worth a lot of money?
This is what I say. I kind of got it down to a routine. I go, oh, man, you got some really cool stuff here. It's really cool, and it's awesome. However, this stuff was really overproduced and overprinted at the time, and a lot of people have this, and the demand's just not there. So it's really cool stuff, but it just doesn't have a lot of value. But I appreciate you letting me take a look at it.
And do you see the disappointment on their face?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, do you ever feel bad?
Yeah, I feel bad every time. I feel bad every time because that's the majority of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, whoa, this is, and then I feel bad because then you start getting used to the idea that what's coming in is that stuff.
Yeah.
And then someone's like, hey, I've got this blah, blah, blah. I got a great book. And you're like, yeah, sure. Right. Yeah. Yep. Bring it in. We'll take a look. And then you're like, yeah, what is it? Let me take a look. Oh, crap. Okay. And this is a real deal now. So now you got to like switch gears. That it happens and it sucks. But for the most part, people are very appreciative. A lot of people are like, well, thank you for your time. Thank you for letting me know. That's why I came to you. Yeah. And other people are like, I spent, $80 in gas to get here. And how dare you not buy this book? This book has never been taken out of its plastic. And then you're like, well, they don't come in plastic, but whatever. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
So, I mean, really, you might flip through and the only ones you're looking for is probably ASM 300 and the New Mutants book, The Cable and Deadpool. That's about it, right?
And Uncanny 266.
Oh, there you go. That's really, I mean, there's literally only a handful from in the 90s that are worth more than $50. I mean, it's less than 15 books.
Yeah, we've got a warehouse with so much of that stuff, and so like that's what we tell them. And sometimes we'll buy things just to fill it in. I'll be like, oh, we just recently had a run on Spawn. Like for years and years, I turned down every Spawn book that came in. Now I buy them.
Yeah.
We told this one guy one time, he came in with a bunch of Spawn #1s. And this was years ago. And we're like, yeah, we don't need the Spawn #1s right now. He goes, but it's a Spawn #1. Isn't it worth $20? And I go, yeah, it's worth $20. It's been worth $20 for about 30 years. And I was like, I sell 2 copies a year. and I've got 12 in my warehouse, so I have a 6-year supply already.
Yeah. Are you surprised that some books have been pretty much the same value for so long? Perfect example is like Wolverine #1 by Chris Claremont and Frank Miller. That value of that book has basically been the same for, 30 years. I mean, actually, like 2 years after it came out, it's been at that value ever since. The same thing could be said about Punisher #1 from the limited series. It's pretty much the same value what it was 20, 25 years ago. Are you surprised that those haven't gone up more?
Not really, because there are plenty of copies of those. Like that Frank Miller, Chris Claremont Wolverine series is not rare. You know, what surprises me is when books that aren't rare go up so high. It always surprised me that New Mutants 98 got up so high, because I'm like, you used to be able to find that in dollar bins back in the day. Like, nobody cared about Deadpool throughout the 90s for the most part. He had a very, very niche cult following. What's crazy to me now is seeing books from the 90s. We were so used to the crash that happened in the 90s that we were like, these books are never going to be worth anything.
Yeah.
They will never be worth anything. And now you're like, no, it's worth something because it's a low print run. And now there are more people that are into Deadpool and Harley Quinn than there were in 1998.
Yeah.
And now a Deadpool #1 that you couldn't give away in 1998 is now like an $80 comic book. And you're like, wow, that's crazy.
You go back and you look at the Spawns, from Spawn from like, the 200 on up, to a certain number, they were really low print. And the reason why they were low print is because nobody was buying them.
Exactly.
And now those books, are worth some money, just because they didn't make very many copies. And that's a AAA title right there. So, the low print does affect the book quite a bit. And there was some books in the 90s. I can think of a few that are like, it was towards the end of when things were going bad. They just weren't making very many, like the final few issues of G.I. Joe or the final few issues of Transformers. If you look at those books, there's nothing really special about them besides the fact that they're just low print, and they sell for a nice dollar figure. It's surprising, to be honest.
Yeah, because back in the 90s, it was easy to be like, well, Transformers and G.I. Joe, that's from the 80s. Nobody's going to care about that. And then you always got to anticipate these trends coming back.
Yeah.
And I said it back then. I was like, that means Turtles is coming up around the corner at some point in Power Rangers. And look what happened.
Yeah.
So the same thing happened there. Those early issues of like Ghost Rider and Silver Surfer, those series that did not sell at all, and so they got canceled. Those final issues they got some value to them now, which is pretty cool. It's cool because sometimes you can have that stuff in your collection. Sometimes you're like, oh, I got rid of that like a long time ago.
I did a video last week, and it was 50 comics worth $100 raw, guaranteed. And I pretty much did the research. I looked them all up, and I looked on eBay, recently sold for the most common condition, and they had to be sold prices between $100 and $199. Besides just going back and finding really old books, it was not easy to put together a list of 50 comics that were worth between $100 and $199. My initial thing for that video was it was going to be 101 books worth $100. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. And I was just doing Marvel. I didn't take it into DC or some of the other ones. But I was surprised at how hard it was just to find 50 books without having to just go back and find just old books. I wanted these books to have a reason why they were worth $100, not just because, it's issue number 3 of this series that's really old. It had to have a purpose, like a first appearance or a death or something like that, a reason why it was worth $100. I was surprised how hard it was to do that. Do you think that there's a lot of books, and I said this in that video, I thought were really undervalued? Like, to me, the first appearance of Mary Jane, I think it's issue 42. It's on my wall. That book is not worth a lot of money in the most common condition. I think it sells for like $120. That's the first appearance of Mary Jane. That's where she says, "Face it, Tiger, you hit the jackpot." I look at a book like that and I say, that book should be worth more than $120.
Yeah. I totally think that. I watched that video. I thought that was a great video, by the way.
A side note about that video, it's missing number 44, and nobody said anything.
That's hilarious.
Nobody said a word.
Did you just
It
skip like
just got cut out. I didn't even notice it until I uploaded the video.
what was number 44?
It was a low grade copy of the first Sabretooth.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I think that I see this. I for the most part, because I'm more like, I think that book's overvalued. I see that more than what I think when I think things are undervalued. You know, some things were undervalued at times, like Tomb of Dracula number 10. Now it's overvalued, I think. And that's because everybody's specking on Blade coming into the MCU. Fantastic Four stuff's taking off right now and kind of getting up there. But what's really crazy about what you said is that how hard it was for you to find books that were worth $100 or more, that for more of a reason than they were just old.
Yeah.
Right. Because you can have an old comic book. Yeah. An old, Superman comic book from the 40s may be worth so much money, but it is only worth what someone's going to pay for it. You know?
Yeah. Like I said, it had to be a reason why it can't just, not because it's just old. It had to be a reason why it was worth $100. Yeah. That's really, kind of my criteria for that book.
It's really weird in our industry because most people outside of the industry, they have this idea that comic books can be worth millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And at times they can be, right? We've had 3 comic books for sure that have sold over $1 million, Archie 1, Detective 27, and Action 1, right?
Yeah.
But for the most part, when we're like, man, this book got hot and it just jumped up, we're talking about this book's like $50. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like, not a lot.
Yeah. So that's a little weird to me, but I'm right on there with you about the Mary Jane thing. I think that's kind of an undervalued book because it seems like that would be worth more.
Yeah.
Just because of how essential Mary Jane is to the Spider-Man lore.
Yeah.
And I know Gwen's first appearance was after that, wasn't it?
I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing about the Mary Jane one, there's some debate about she's in the earlier issue where her face is behind a plant.
Yeah, you never see her.
Yeah, you don't even know you can't identify the character. To where I've always thought 42, which I'll just grab it real quick. But
yeah, it's really weird that the first appearance of Molten Man's worth more than the first appearance of Mary Jane.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But this is the first appearance. Obviously, she's not on the cover or nothing like that, so you don't know. But the very last few pages, she's in there. She's talking. She meets Peter Parker. She interacts with him, and she says that famous line. And to me, this is going to be the first appearance. Why this book isn't worth? I mean, it's a 12-cent. This is some great Stan Lee, if I'm not mistaken. In my eyes, there's a lot of undervalued Spider-Man books. I mean, there's so many in the first 100 books. There's so many first appearances. There's so many major events. It really defined the character. And when I'm going through this list and I was putting them together, I think 10 of the books were Spider-Man books, and 7 of them were under issues below number 100. And they were really low value, like the first appearance of Shocker or the first appearance of the Prowler, like 120, 150 bucks. Like these should be worth more. This should be worth more than the first appearance of Cable. I don't know. Yeah. That's just me. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, especially because the first appearance of Prowler is a more rare book to find out there in the wild than the first appearance of Cable.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's so weird, but it's all hype. It's the fact that Cable is a more recognizable character than the Prowler.
Yeah.
Even though I think Hobby's a better character, but I like Cable too. So that's weird to me because that New Mutants, what is it, 87 or whatever that is?
Mm-hmm.
That book is everywhere.
Yeah.
It's literally everywhere. Almost every shop has one. It's easy.
Not every shop has copies of this book.
Yes.
They just weren't made that many, and they're not. A lot of them didn't survive as well. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up. I wanted your opinion. I thought that was pretty good. I got one last question for you before we get to the rapid 10 questions. Okay.
All right.
So at the comic shop, what do you recommend a young reader? I went back and forth, new reader or someone who wants to collect, but I want to say a young reader, like when we were kids and we wanted to get into comics. If you had a kid come in your store, let's say junior high school, our age when we got into comics, what are 3 books you'd recommend? 1 Marvel, 1 DC, and 1 independent book?
Well, the first thing I do is I ask them a little bit of information. Whenever I have somebody wants a recommendation, I ask them, what do they like, and like what are their favorite TV shows and what are their favorite movies. And so if someone says, if they start picking a bunch of sci-fi stuff, then I kind of know where to go. And if someone says, they like a certain character, I kind of know where to go. If it was, so you say junior high level, so we're talking like 12, 13 years old or something, right? For DC, I would recommend Batman Year One. I think that's a great first comic book to have.
Nice.
For Marvel, what would I do? For Marvel, I would recommend it. Like I said, it all kind of depends on what they like.
Yeah.
But with Marvel, for that age range, I would probably go Infinity Gauntlet is a good one right now because how many people know Thanos?
Sure.
So that's pretty cool. That's a good one. But I would usually pick something a little bit more modern, like Captain America Winter Soldier is a good one to recommend to people. I think I would say Captain America Winter Soldier is probably the one I get the most response out of. People really like that book, and I think it's good. And a lot of people like the Winter Soldier movie. As far as independent goes, Sin City for a 13-year-old, they would love it. I'm just kidding. On that one, I would recommend something more like no, I wouldn't recommend Saga, but I would probably for a 13-year-old, I'd probably recommend Maxwell's Demons.
Okay.
Or something like that from Vault Comics. Maybe Heathen. Maybe not Heathen for a 13-year-old, actually.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Heathen's a great one, but it's not for a 13-year-old.
Okay.
But I would recommend Maxwell's Demons or that'd probably be the best one because it seems to be the one indie book that's a little bit more age appropriate. Yeah. But one comic book I'll recommend to anybody of all ages is Bone by Jeff Smith. I think it's one of the best comic books of all time. And another DC one I recommend a lot is Sandman. If I see that, like if it's somebody who is not a 12-year-old, and they like want fantasy, I'll go Saga or I'll go Sandman. If they like science fiction, I'll go East of West or Pax Romana or something like that. But I want to give them something that is so good that they are like, I did not know comic books could be this good. And they immediately want to come back and get more.
Very cool. Well, we still have like 72 people watching right now. I think we've had up to a 90 at one time.
Hell yeah.
YouTube is
90.
There you go. We're going to go to our rapid 10 final questions. Okay.
All right.
These are easy answers. I want to know I already know the first one. You already spoiled it earlier. So you ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. LeBron or Jordan?
Jordan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Jordan's the better. I mean, LeBron is right up there. I am a Lakers fan, and so that's why I made that comment about LeBron. And I'm a big Magic Johnson fan, but I mean, you can't beat Jordan.
There you go.
Jordan's a level that we've never seen, and LeBron is there too. But it is a different game at the same time too. So with my childhood recollections, I would say Jordan.
Well, my faith is restored. Thank you.
He's got the better shoe too.
Yeah. Best actor who played Batman?
Christian Bale.
Xbox, Nintendo, or PlayStation?
Nintendo.
What's your go-to game?
Super Mario World.
Nice. I already know this one, but I gotta ask. I don't know why. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
There you go. Best actor who played Joker?
Heath Ledger. Very
nice. Sticking with the Christopher Nolan ones, huh?
Yeah, Christopher Nolan's like my favorite director of all time for a reason. But I'm not counting Conroy and Hamill because I think that's cheating.
Okay. I think I already know this one, but it's on there. Graded or raw copies?
Raw.
Yep, I knew it. Put this one out there because I know you're a little bit older than my last guess. I think you are. Hulk Hogan or Macho Man Randy Savage?
Ooh. When I was a kid, Hulk Hogan. Nowadays, Macho Man.
Yeah, right on.
This one, Ultimate Warrior above both of those.
Really? I almost forgot about him. I should have had him on the list.
He was my number one, man.
There you go. This one is especially on here for you. X-Files or Twilight Zone?
X-Files.
X-Files?
X-Files. Twilight Zone's good, but there are too many weak episodes. Same with X-Files, really, but who cares?
Yeah.
It's more about aliens and government conspiracy, so I like that. X-Files.
We had this one yesterday as well. Mary Jane or Gwen Stacy?
Gwen.
You're going with Gwen.
Yeah.
All right, and last question is superpower, flight or invisibility?
Flight.
Flight. Okay, there's a caveat to this. Okay.
Okay. Well, you didn't tell me that.
I know. I just want to see if that changes your mind.
Okay.
If you pick flight, you can only fly 2 inches off the ground. If you pick invisibility, you can go invisible, but you smell like shit if you do.
Flight, because then you could do that cool like floaty thing.
Sticking with flight.
Yeah, sticking with flight.
2 inches off the ground.
Yeah, you'd be like David Blaine, right? You'd be like street magic. You'll be blowing people's minds.
That guy just floats around 2 inches off the ground.
Tell me that wouldn't be impressive. More impressive than just a random smell of shit.
Well, Robbie, this has been a blast. And I want to kind of turn it over to you, kind of tell the people about your channel. If anyone's not familiar with Robbie from Pop Culture Philosophers, now's your time. Pay attention. This guy's going to share with you exactly what he brings to the table. And trust me, it's quite a bit.
Well, Pop Culture Philosophers is a podcast and a YouTube channel and a website and a way of life. PCP will change your life. Pop Culture Philosophers is trying to bring in a positive, insightful, and entertaining view on pop culture. We try to dig a little bit deeper. We try to get into technique, what the stories mean to us. We focus on what we love because we think that by focusing more on what you love and what you resonate with, tells you more about yourself. We have a podcast that's absolutely fantastic. We talk about movies. We talk about comic books. You can find it at popculturephilosophers.com, on iTunes and all that stuff. The YouTube channel is the home of the weekly comic book review, which even during the shutdown has not stopped. So weekly comic book reviews every single week. We do a top 10 whenever that comes back. I do a live stream on Sunday nights, Rockin' Robbie Live. It's become my favorite show to do. I have so much fun just trolling people with Joker videos. So I have a lot of fun doing that. And we got other content. We do movie reviews. We do movie polls over at our PCP Army, which is our Facebook group. So if you're on Facebook, check us out at the PCP Army. We do lots of fun stuff, so check us out. There's something for everybody if you like pop culture.
There definitely is. Robbie, thank you so much for coming on. You know what? I was really looking forward to this. Like I said, we have a few more guests coming on. We got Comic-Con tomorrow. Thursday is Reggie from Reggie Collects, and Friday is Brian from Simple Man's Comics. But honestly, Robbie, I was really looking forward to having you on here, getting your take on everything that's going on. I think it was a unique perspective from not only just a comic book fan, but someone who works at a comic shop, who's been part of the comic shop industry for quite a while, and just hearing what your thoughts were on everything that's kind of taking place right now. Robbie, this has been a blast, man. We got to do it again very soon.
Absolutely. Always down, Bueller. I appreciate you. I thank you for having me here, and I appreciate the PCP Army out there and everybody else in the chat.
Awesome, man. Thank you also to everyone in the chat. This was a lot of fun. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Robbie's link is down below. If you haven't checked it out, please go ahead and do so. I'll see you next time. Bye.